Today I'm going to try something super cool and useful, and I'm talking about the Folder Watcher Home Assistant integration. If you've never heard of it, don't worry, I will break it down for you in simple terms. So, what's the Folder Watcher in Home Assistant? Basically, it's a feature in Home Assistant that keeps an eye on the files in certain folders. Whenever a file is created, deleted, modified, or moved in those folders, Folder Watcher will notice and can trigger a Home Assistant automation. Before you can use the Folder Watcher, you need to tell Home Assistant which folders to monitor. These folders needs to be added to something called the Allow List External Dirs, which is like giving Home Assistant permission to access these folders. Don't worry, I'll show you how to do that. One cool thing to note is that Folder Watcher works recursively. That means it doesn't just monitor the main folder you choose, it also watches all the subfolders inside it. So, if you have a bunch of folders within a folder, you don't need to set each one up separately. Okay, this is my test Home Assistant, and I'm going to edit my Home Assistant configuration just a little bit. For that, I'm going to use the File Editor add-on. If you don't have it, just install it from the add-on store. Go to the add-on store, search for File Editor, click on Install, then Start. And if you enable this Show in Sidebar switch, you have it right here in your sidebar. Or you can click on Open Web UI and you see the File Editor web interface, which is looking like that. If you don't have Home Assistant add-on store at all, that means you're using Home Assistant container or core installation type, then you have to find your configuration.yaml file in your config folder, and you have to use a text editor to do the same steps. Simple as that. It is a lot easier with File Editor, as you see right now. I'll click on this Browse File System icon, and I'll open my configuration.yaml file. Inside here, I'll create a new line, and I'll paste the following config. Don't try to remember it, just get it from the video description. But basically, I'm describing my folder that I want to monitor, and this folder is subscribe, which is located under the config folder. I'm creating this section Home Assistant. If you have already such a section, you just have to paste only these lines, and be careful with the indentation here, because Home Assistant and YAML is very picky about the right indentation. You have to use the same indentation here, otherwise you will not see this green check mark here, and you're not able to save the changes, you're not able to restart your Home Assistant, and so on and so forth. Of course, I can add more folders, for example, like the first one will be subscribe, and the second folder that I will monitor, if I leave this config that way, will be like, so I will monitor two folders, and that's pretty fine, but I want only subscribe folder for now. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, what are you still waiting? Subscribe, and you will not miss my new videos about Home Assistant that I'm going to release in the future. So, I'll save the changes, and I'll have to do one more thing here. Actually, not right here, but in the file editor. I have to create this subscribe folder. I'll click on this Browse File System again, and under this Home Assistant folder, I'll create my subscribe subfolder, subscribe, and it will be somewhere here. Here it is. You may notice that here I have Home Assistant then subscribe, and here in the configuration.yaml I have config subscribe. But don't worry, just use the same syntax and the same names and you'll be fine. Config and Home Assistant are some kind of aliases here. If you type here Home Assistant, this will not work. So type config, then your folder, and you'll be fine. Next thing that I have to do is to restart my Home Assistant, because the changes I did are not yet activated. So I'll go to Developer Tools and restart Home Assistant. Alright, let's move on to the adding the Folder Watcher integration to Home Assistant, which is pretty straightforward. Meanwhile, you can download my free smart home glossary It's packed with all the essential terms and their explanation to help you understand everything about smart home technology. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get your free copy now. And here is how you can set folder watcher integration step by step. Okay, Home Assistant has started, and I'll press somewhere here on this right side of the screen, the bigger one, and I'll press the C button, then I'll type integrations, and I'll select navigate integrations, then I'll click on this add integration button, and I'll search for folder watcher. Here it is. I'll click on it, and the same way as before, I should type the full path to my folder that I want to watch. The full path is config/subscribe. And here I can add patterns or filters. Currently I have only a star, which is a wildcard. That means everything will be cached, everything will be monitored. But I can make a more precise patterns or filters by adding, for example, star.txt. And I'll monitor only txt files that way. But I want to monitor everything, and I'll leave the star, the wildcard, only, and I'll click on submit button, and just like that I have folder watcher integration inside my Home Assistant. I'll click on finish, and somewhere here it is, I have a folder watcher integration under my configured section, and I can click on it and I can configure it again. I can add another entry, but another entry here means another entry in my configuration.yaml file. So I'll leave everything as is, and I'll go to the fun part, namely making Home Assistant automations. I'll press the C button, and I'll type automations, then I'll select navigate automations, create automation, and then I'll click again on create new automation, an empty one. And here I'm going to use a little hack, very little and quick tip. I'll go to YAML mode, then I'll go to the folder watcher documentation, official documentation inside Home Assistant, and I'll scroll down and I'll get the example from here. I'll copy this YAML code and I'll delete everything inside my new automation and I'll paste it right here. But I will see this red line, that means something is not right. Yes, I should delete this automation text. Let me try to copy it without this automation part, like that. Now it's fine. Now the automation is okay. I see this blue line, which means that everything is fine. I'll click on save, then rename, and then I'll go back to Visual Editor. That is a quick way to import new automations in your Home Assistant if you see somewhere a YAML code. And now I can edit my automation, I can configure it, and I can add few things to make it more suitable for my environment. This is the trigger, and I will not touch anything here. This trigger will catch if something is created inside my watched folder, and I can limit it by users, but I don't want to use that. And this is the action, notify.notify. This is useless for my Home Assistant setup, so I'm going to change that. Actually, I'll create a new action, which will be persistent notification create. This service will create a new notification right here in this notifications section, and I'm going to reuse this message because it have a useful templates here, and I'm going to reuse them like that. This is my new persistent notification action, and I'm going to change the default one, the example, from notify.notify to notify.telegram. This will send a Telegram message to me, to my phone, to my watch, to my computer, because I set this service previously and I'm using it for years and it is working great. I'll link a video where I'm showing how I configured this Telegram service in my Home Assistant. You can follow this video and you can enable Telegram notifications in your Home Assistant as well. I think I'm ready. I'll click on Save to save the automation, and I did some tests, and right now if I create something inside my subscribe folder which I'm watching using the folder watcher integration, nothing will happen. And that's because I have to restart Home Assistant one more time. I don't know why, but I'm going to do that right now. Okay, Home Assistant has started and I can test my automation by going to File Editor again. I'll open my subscribe folder and inside it I'm going to create a new file named like. I'll click on OK. And I have a new Telegram notification saying created like in config subscribe folder. I also have a persistent notification saying the same thing, which means my automation and my folder watcher integration is working perfectly. I can also create a new folder, for example 1, and inside this folder I can create a new file. And again, I will trigger the automation and it will say that there is a new file named 1 created in config subscribe 1 subfolder. I also have the same in my persistent notifications. Of course, I can make an automation that is watching for not only creation of file, but also for closed, deleted, modified, or moved. These 4 are pretty much similar. Moved have 3 more things: destination path, destination file, destination folder, which can be used in your script and automations. I'm hosting a free Home Assistant webinar and I want you to join me. Register now for free using the link also available in the video description, or scan the QR code. Hope to see you there. I'm Kirill, thanks for folder watching with me, and until next time.